Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to John and Roman Solve the World Problems. That is a lie. So, with me, as always, is my co-host, John, the blue-collar guy. How are you doing, buddy?
Well, I survived about an hour of traffic getting home without killing anyone, so I'm going to put that in the win column.
That is a win. That's definitely a win. And we have a guest with us this week, Stephen Ransom.
How are you, gentlemen? How are you? Yes, and no murder is always a bonus, even in Grand Theft Auto now.
Yes, as we often say in most of our live streams, send bail money.
True. Yeah, I did see that headline. They are debulling Grand Theft Auto. Apparently, It's not funny to have a dead hooker in your trunk anymore.
But the Babylon Bee had a solid meme about saying that the gamers were upset about new female character constantly driving over curbs.
Reasonable. Oh, Lord. Okay, so we have our big topic of the week, which we will get to in just a few minutes. I wanted to talk about a couple things real fast before we dove into that. First, I want to talk about Eric July and where we are with that. Because an important topic. And hopefully I don't freeze up too much because I'm using the other computer and that makes this computer angry. So give me 1 second here so I can bring up the screen. Come on, work with me. Do something resembling literally anything.
Oh, hey, there we go.
There we go. Okay. So he is at 3,274,000 and some change. Now,
we need like
good for him, and that's a
sound effect here. Like
we do, and that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
The but attached to this, to it is that Al is still hanging on to 1.2 million of that money, saying that he is a risk and they can hold on to it for 60 days, and if they still feel he's a risk, they can add on another 30 days. They could be 3 months before they release that money to him, which the customers have already paid.
It really bothers me that I paid through PayPal.
Same with me. That's just absolute horseshit.
I mean,
so
as
moving
stupid
forward,
as it was, it's like I still paid outright, but it was just like, oh, like PayPal, it's easy. It's already stored in there. Just click and be done.
Right.
But now I'm like, I should have just put in my info and done it the hard way so he would actually have money. And I was like, well, here we are.
And he's no longer accepting PayPal for reasons that shouldn't be surprising to anyone. So there's the Eric July update. And like I said, I do like to talk about that every week because I do think it's that big a deal, because it is something that affects not just the comic book community, though that's the primary focus, but it's entertainment in general. This is fan service, giving the fans what they want from a creator who is coming up with new ideas. So
well, and it's sending that message.
That's the Eric July for
we don't have to be getting all into this identity politics bullshit to sell a product. So cheers to that success.
It's also a huge reveal of PayPal's actual lines in the sand. I think it's ironically important that this is actually happening. And we should report on it like that too, that it's like, guys, you realize what you're saying here? It's small-time businessmen, garage inventors, they're all a risk. Are you telling us to stop doing this stuff?
I mean, he's fortunate that he has other lines of income coming in for this, and it's not strictly PayPal. Otherwise, he'd just be holding a bag with a lot of product, and he'd be stuck. And they would, in effect, be ruining his business.
Yeah. Hopefully hopefully in an ironic sense that it will come to that, because damaging a $3 million new corporation is something everybody will take very seriously. That's damage to a property out of the gate because of a financial concern.
And people have already given you their money. As a new business owner, if this would go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you. Go ahead. It's the Chippendale show, kids.
No, what I was saying is this should make any new creative content person think, half a second about using PayPal as their primary means of bringing the cash in. There are other ways to make it work, and PayPal clearly isn't the one that is friendly. Certainly not to content creators, because I guess that's freaking risky. So now speaking of content creators and things that people want, we're going to go to the exact opposite now. And hopefully this is actually cooperates with me. And it's Marvel Phase 5.
Oh, Lord.
So we can pop through the. Sorry, the image isn't clear. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger.
Oh, it's clear enough.
That works.
Disaster waiting.
It's actually probably far too clear.
The only thing in there that I've had any interest in, even before seeing this picture, the only thing in here I've had any interest in at this point was Guardians of the Galaxy 3, because it's the last movie for most of those actors. Chris Pratt, Dave Bautista.
Yeah, I agree. And it does seem like the last connection to the olden days.
To anything that anyone gives a shit about.
Right. So you have Quantum Mania. That's the Wasp Ant-Man number 3. And no, they were mildly amusing movies, but they were largely forgettable films.
But so that's going to be like Paul Rudd and what's her name. Like, I might watch that when it's free on
Paul
Disney
Rudd
Plus.
And what's her name?
Nice.
The chick from Lost.
Secret Invasion could be cool. Will it be cool? I honestly doubt it, because Secret Invasion was based on the Skrulls assuming identities of heroes. Now, they already cocked up the Skrull thing in Captain Marvel and made them more sympathetic refugees. So they've already damaged Secret Invasion going into it. So I don't quite know how they unscrew that and make it so that people care about it. It's going to be a Phase 5 property, so it's going to be hard to make people care about it anyway. But I don't know how they move forward with that. Nothing.
They should have been trickling the Secret Invasion every chance they got. Every single moment, there should have been some guy whose eyes, or some gal whose eyes shifted a little bit, or turned around a corner and became somebody else. I mean, they should have been just kerneling and dropping popcorn in the aisle for the last 2 years. They should have been doing that. Don't they understand how to build anything up? God, whatever happened to the slow romance?
They did for 11 years.
They don't. Well, that and
it ended with Endgame.
The next Marvel Avengers feature stuff that I've seen is Avengers, the something of Kang. Kang, who got introduced in Loki. Or maybe you don't, because you maybe didn't watch Loki. So then you have Guardians 3, and that'll probably be at least marginally successful.
Yeah.
Then there is Echo.
Marvel managed to build something up for 11 years up to Endgame, and I've said this a couple times in videos and live streams, but at this point, in my mind, everything from Iron Man to Endgame, in my just my personal opinion, was Phase 1, and everything else doesn't matter.
Right. So Echo is a character that was introduced during the Hawkeye series that no one knows or care about it.
Loki, that was largely forgettable too.
Exactly.
No.
Loki season 1 was so bad. I can't believe they're doing a Loki season 2 yet. There it is. Maybe we can see Loki get kicked in the balls for another several
Nobody
episodes.
wants this. Nobody wants this.
It did capture the imagination of a large part of the normie audience. I will tell you that. There's a pretty big chunk of YouTube that reacted to the show, and the reactions were very enjoyable to watch. I think they dropped the ball. That should have been the worst effort. It was certainly the most interesting effort because it's like strange new worlds. We're going into different time zones. We're introducing different alien species on other planets in other time zones. I mean, it was Time Tunnel meets Phase 3, wasn't it? I mean, it should have been more interesting than it was. And even so, it's living in a vacuum. They didn't pass any of these assets or any of this momentum. They never passed it on to everything else. We should have felt the effects of Loki should have been appearing in every Marvel property the same way that Thanos did in the original set. I mean, we felt the presence of Thanos from First Avenger onward. Right? They introduced the cube. We don't know what that's attached to. But
they dropped the breadcrumbs all the way through.
Yeah. Every single show, even the 10 rings in the first Iron Man movie was a breadcrumb dropped in the aisle. It's they just dropped the ball. They dropped the ball. They didn't have any sort of like real captain at the helm. That's about it. That's about it. And I thought Loki was worthy. I thought it was worthy.
Yeah, it was certainly interesting. I feel like Loki had. Like it had that potential, like there were aspects of it that could have been interesting, and then they just sort of like took a left turn and turned it to shit. Yeah.
No, and they took Loki, who should have been Loki at his absolute best. His most powerful, his creepiest. And they completely deballed him. What am I doing? God damn me.
Well, that's what they've been doing with all the male characters for the last couple of years, though. I mean, look at Thor.
True.
You know, I mean, how many movies does it take for Thor to finally find himself? And then now they're just like, oh, we're going to make him this big, like, peace and love hippie that just is going to, you know, sit back and whatever. And now we're going to have Lady Thor. It's like, it just... He was trying to find himself. He was trying to find himself, and now he's been completely neutered. And now he's just kind of, now my hands will be used for peace. Like, oh, fantastic! That's great.
That's great. What am I doing wrong here? I'm trying to do something else in the background. It's probably not working out very well for me. And then the Marvels. The Marvels being something that no one cares about. It's got because they couldn't market Captain Marvel anymore because people hated her. She was
I thought that just meant that people hated women.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting that. But oddly, it didn't mean that. What it meant was that the character they created in Carol Danvers was such a piece of what's a good word? She wasn't a likable character. I'm going to be more diplomatic. I'm not going to use colorful terms. That they couldn't just use.
Oh, did we lose him?
I hope not.
Roman, come back to us.
Yeah, there really needs to be going forward a drop in this political sidebar that happens because Captain Marvel would have been an okay movie if every single male fan hadn't been slapped in the face by her off camera.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's what really, really started the pressure boiling. That seems to be the problem with a lot of these properties, is that they preemptively salt the waters rip the Band-Aid off, slap us in the face, tell us to go to another theater. It's just, it's like, oh, this isn't for you.
Oh, he's back. Oh, good.
He's back.
Thank God. Right. I don't even know where I went. I don't even know how that happened. Hey, I threw the link up in StreamYards if anybody wants to join in. I know we have Mr. AWK from the UK who is across the pond there, and he's staying up late to come visit us, and I do appreciate that, Alex. And Zach's good to see you out there, buddy. He was sounding really clean up until the point where he dropped into fucking oblivion.
Completely dropped.
So good for me.
It's all right. We kept it going. But no, I think
I can hear you guys. I was still here. I just couldn't participate.
But kind of to that effect too, of talking about like trying to keep people interested in these characters. Me being a little more, I'm a little more on the side of kind of being what most people, I guess, would call a normie, in that like I've been entertained by these movies for a time. Now it's getting to where I just don't really care anymore, but for good reason. But I think another thing they're running into is that they've kind of used up the characters that normies know about. Like everyone's kind of heard of Captain America. Yes. Everyone has heard of Thor, has heard of Iron Man.
Yeah, but
now they're digging in. They're digging in to some of these more obscure characters where people are like, I don't know who this is or why I should care about them. Right. Oh, we got a sex bot in the chat. Oh, got rid of it. Okay.
Damn it.
No. When you start getting the bots in the chat, that means you've like fucking made it. Like
I know.
No worries.
Right, we got rid of it.
So then we're moving on to then we're moving on to Blade, which was done. Now the only complaint that I have about the original Blade movies, aside from Blade 3, which was a little bit weak, but the effects really weren't there. But the story was really good, and Wesley Snipes was fantastic.
Yeah, I think the effects were just sort of a product of the times.
They were, but quite honestly, you can get past that. So, but now you're going to have the dude who played Remy on House of Cards, if you watch that series, is taking the role over as Blade. What are they going to do with this? What's Disney Marvel going to do with an R-rated character? Are they going to make him a PG-13 character? Because if you do, you've now cut Blade out, so no one gives two shits.
Are they going to make it female?
No. Doesn't he have a daughter or something? I thought that there was a side character that was a young lady. And of course, they already preempted it in Trinity, Blade Trinity. She was going to inherit the throne anyway, so there was already that tension way back in the original trilogy. So,
oh wow.
I literally don't know where this is going to pick up. And the problem is I don't know if anyone's going to care. And if they do, I don't know if we're just going to get the rug pulled out of us like they usually have done. And then there is one of the least interesting characters in Marvel history, Ironheart. The delightful Riri Williams, a young African-American teenage girl who obviously is smarter than Tony Stark, and that's what this show is going to be about, because that's what the comic book was about.
Why does this sound like everything that Marvel's been making for the last
year? Because that's everything that Marvel has been making. So this is a non-starter. Although in comparison, there is Agatha, which was a sub-character on WandaVision. What do you do, Marvel? What are you thinking about? You're thinking about fans again. Normies aren't even going to remember who Agatha was. I endured the series, so.
I got to admit, other than Guardians 3, this is actually the first one where I'm like, that might be interesting.
Oh, what, God, Agatha? You're disappointing me.
But my point that I'm trying to say is that everything up to this point has been largely forgettable.
Yeah.
At least that's a character that I'm like, oh, okay, I remember seeing that character on that one show. Okay, all right. It's something I'm sort of familiar with.
Here's where they take a hatchet to the much beloved Netflix series of Daredevil. And Daredevil Born Again. Oh, God. What are you going? It's Charlie Cox is returning. Daredevil seasons 1 and 2 were some of the best superhero stuff that they've ever shot. And now you're going to do what to Daredevil? Because I even like season 3. I thought season 3 was fine. compared to 90% of the other shit that we've gotten, season 3 was brilliant.
How do you feel about the Ben Affleck Daredevil?
I'm sorry. I have to cut you out of the stream now. It was so good to have John with us this week.
I had to ask because, like, could it be better or worse? I don't know. Like,
the Netflix series was just so above bar
incredible.
to Ben's attempt. Granted, imagine you're Ben Affleck. You've just come off of Good Will Hunting, your first movie that you get an Oscar for, and they go, "Hey, comic book geek boy, we know you're awfully attractive and all. Would you like to play your all-time hero, Daredevil?" And he was like, "Are you friggin' kidding? Of course I'd love to play Daredevil." He signs all the contracts, and then they hand him the script.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah, exactly. And the both of them have made the same kinds of errors in the course of their early career, but they learned fast.
Yeah,
they did learn
fast. I'm just here to stir the pot a little bit.
Yeah, after.
My pal.
I mean, Roman and I read, the original Frank Miller approach to Daredevil, and to watch Ben Affleck's, film version was like, it looks really good, but no, I don't think so. That was no.
Well, that's just like your opinion,
man. Straight from the dude's mouth.
The dude is wise.
Yes, the dude abides.
Now, the dude wouldn't have been in that version of Daredevil. So they're going to kill Daredevil. And now it actually gets worse. And you don't think it's possible as we go down this list for it to get worse. It's Captain America 4 New World Order. And this,
you need to do better.
Captain America. Yes, exactly. This is Falcon as Captain America in a film called New World Order. I don't know if they were thinking about name titles when they were picking this, especially in our current timeline. In the real world, New World Order is not something a lot of people are going to gravitate to. And Anthony Mackie, exactly. It's like, really, guys, really, you're not even playing anymore. You're just shoving it in our face.
Well, if there was a tiny little versus the New World Order between Captain America and the New World Order, then it would be intriguing, because it would be like Winter Soldier, where Cap goes up against S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Because he finds out it's corrupted. But they're not going to do that. Captain America is going to be holding New World Order on his shoulders going, look here, you dummies.
Yep. And it's just going to be on all of us again. So I'm dreading that, and they're going to call all isps and obes because we don't like it. And then there's Thunderbolts, and I'm kind of surprised they're doing this. Again, for normies, they're not going to have any idea who the fuck Thunderbolts are.
Right. Hi, how are you?
This was exactly. This is Norman Osborn's kind of anti-Avengers is I think the best way to put it. And I don't know if this is going to be film or TV, because I didn't really get a feel for that. What does it mean? Nobody knows. It could be interesting, but it's Disney Marvel, so it probably won't be. So anyway,
how many villain shows? That list right there, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 shows about villains, right? I mean,
are we counting Ironheart as a villain? Because
I'm counting Loki, Secret Wars, and Agatha as 3 introduced under the MCU title. They were all 3 of them villains upon introduction.
And then Thunderbolts is a villain show. There's no way that it's not a villain show.
Right. And Joker gets away with it because it was an artsy film. It was an extremely artsy film telling a 70s message. Yeah, and it's a one-off in its own universe.
Although they are going to make another one, which I wish they would just not do. They need to leave it alone, but they're not going to do it.
Let them have fun.
Help themselves. Let them have fun.
I mean, yeah, I could see if they don't care anymore.
They don't care anymore.
If they're like, you know what, we're just going to give you guys full bore, take the budget we're giving you, and just do whatever. Just do whatever, as long as it's not including Ezra Miller or Amber Heard. Just do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah,
I mean, Joker was so out of the box. We need more out of the box. We need more glass table with lines cut on it, kind of thinking in the boardroom where it's just like, let's just give these happy boys some money. Let these boys be happy and let them do whatever the hell they want. Let's make Blade Runner Die Hard. We need that out of the box thinking, and that's what Joker was. Well, and even their next idea of a musical is interesting.
It's interesting. I worry about musicals because musicals. Before I continue, I want to welcome Mr. AWK, our friend from the UK who is up in the wee hours, joining us again this week. And thank you for being here, Alex.
No problem.
And so we are currently bitching about Marvel, which isn't surprising, and we haven't yet gotten to our main topic because once you start bitching about Marvel, it's very hard to stop.
Now, I can name a number of movies on that list I can fall asleep through.
Yep.
So,
let's.
I'm just going to say, how many more phases do we have to be endless tortured by? Can't you just give it a rest now?
You'd like to think it would stop, but Phase 4 was an utter disaster for Marvel, and they can't sell it any other way. They had basically two money makers in the lot, and that was Doctor Strange coming off the steam of Spider-Man, which I don't qualify because it is a Sony movie. It is not a Marvel product. And Thor because it was Thor. Now, it is underperforming compared to other Marvel properties, but it's still going to be a moneymaker for them. The rest of Phase 4,
ladies do love Chris Hemsworth.
Mm-hmm.
The ladies love Chris Hemsworth. So what are you going to do? So now let's move on to something good, or at least some things good. We're going to talk about bulletproof films. Oops, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? God damn computer.
Save that clip.
It's gone autonomous on me over here. All right, I'll have to click on that when I get to it. It just started doing what it was going to do. It's like, oh, okay, fine. Now you want to show this picture? I'm going to show this picture.
Rise of the Machines.
No. So, God damn it, John. So seldom does a remake improve upon an original film. And we're not talking about sequels or prequels. That's a whole different discussion full of other joys and horrors.
Right.
We're talking straight up remakes. And a couple of notable exceptions of remakes I'm going to throw out just right off the bat are The Thing, the 1982 version over the 1951 version, and The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978 versus 1956. I would say they were as good or better than their predecessors, and a lot of that was technology finally caught up with the storytelling, and they were able to do a good job with that.
I'd like to throw other one on that list.
Yeah.
The Cecil B. DeMille 10 Commandments versus the Charlton Heston 10 Commandments. That is a legit remake. Flat out. They made no bones about it. It was in color for the first time. They had a hotshot young actor playing the part. And they went full bore biblical on it because America was behind the biblical storylines at that point in time. So
if I'm not
just
mistaken,
like The Thing.
Didn't they make another version of the 10 Commandments? No, it was Ben-Hur. I apologize. Yeah. It was Ben-Hur. I'm mixing up my Charlton Heston pieces.
I'm thinking of Ben-Hur too, actually. That's what I'm actually saying. I'm sorry. Ben-Hur.
And in my head, I'm translating that. But
yes.
So, Ben-Hur. Yeah, and they tried to remake Ben-Hur. Why? That should be on this list. It's not on this list, but it should be on this list. So we're gonna look. So Collider, the website Collider, which most of you, if you're watching this, are probably familiar with what Collider is. They came up with this list of films, and I'm going to use their list as a starting point, and then we can jump off from there.
And then we're going to argue.
And then we'll start arguing. So what makes a movie bulletproof? It's a movie that's so well done, or deals with a subject matter that makes it impossible to remake. Or does it? So we're going to start off, if the computer actually freaking cooperates this time, because the pictures are an important part of this. And I think these are movies that we have, except for the one I have all seen. And let me try to do a share, and I'll probably lock up. And then it's up to you guys to just take over the show. Come on. No, I can't do it yet. Don't just spin at me like that. You know, I try to treat it nice.
Clip.
You guys ever see Quantum Leap? Are you guys familiar with Quantum Leap?
We've actually talked about that a little bit, about the reboot coming up.
If anybody were to do a series of deep fake clips of Roman, it would be the guy whacking his little hand computer every single time it didn't behave on Quantum Leap. Because it's the same mood. It's the same mood. It's the same vibe. There's
every time
really
wrong, like smacking Ziggy.
Watching it spin at me right now. Rosie, yes, exactly. Yes, computer, cooperate. I command you to work. No, it's spinning. It's literally just sitting there spinning like an asshole. You know, for the amount I spent on you, you could at least try. There we go. You freaking jackass. Okay, so here we go. I apologize
for about this moment.
All right, so, and we're
first example.
Try to have us on here and hopefully not have too much lag. Come on, do it.
So, what is the first example, Roman? Aha! It is Jaws.
Jaws.
It worked.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's plenty of time for things to go horribly wrong. It's a shark movie. They've made a ton of shark movies, but Jaws, the writing, the direction, the cast, the music, the sheer tension of this movie. What was that, Alex?
The pain they went through to make this movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw that documentary about shark.
Now, poor Bruce. Bruce did not cooperate a lot, much like other electronic things that I know, which are very close to me right now. So
I think today's stream might end with Roman just flipping his table over.
And it may. I'm not going to dismiss that because it could very well happen. So they've made plenty of shark movies since Jaws, but you can't do Jaws again. Rick Dreyfuss, Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, who is actually my favorite character in the film, that lightning in a bottle, just the scene of it's a character driven piece that has a shark in it.
Yeah.
Which, okay, but we're talking about, again, I got to maybe stir the pot a little bit here and ask the question of, we're talking about bulletproof movies. There was a slew of bad sequels after this one. So are we just ignoring those? And because this was the only one made by Steven Spielberg.
Those are sequels. Yes. That's
okay.
But the sequels are never going to be as good. But you couldn't remake this. You throw three guys on a boat, a shark out in the water, and have them say the same lines. But you don't capture that moment again.
You go in the cage.
Alex, what do you think?
Cage goes in the water. Sharks in the water.
The thing is
about this, water.
The thing is about this movie, it is a timeless classic. And to make it in this modern age and that they will completely like throw the script out and start again. It will never. The thing is about Jaws, it is going to be timeless forever, and everyone's going to like go to it. In a way, yes, it had a string of bad sequels, and also there are some cheap budgeted movies out there that is trying to copy the way Jaws was.
Right.
Yeah.
But as long as this is probably got, what do you call it, like a how can I put this, a stop to being it remade, and then that would be excellent. Take the line from Robert Zemeckis. He said about Back to the Future 4 or remaking Back to the Future, and he said, "Over my dead body, they will." So,
yes,
and he wasn't kidding.
And I know we're gonna get to that as well too, because that's in here. But the thing with Jaws too is that like if they were to remake it today, like all these other shark movies that have come out in the last 2 decades, maybe more or less, everything's all just really bad CGI. This is all practical effects, as we already said. Like there's all sorts of issues with the animatronics and everything, but it was a real physical shark prop that you really didn't get a good look at until the 3rd act. And that was the big thing, was this movie. It built up the suspense of the whole movie. You just knew, okay, there's a big shark that somehow is managing to capture children in ankle deep water. Figure that one out. But that part beside, it was just this slow burn, slow build to, okay, there's a shark out there. People are getting eaten. People are dying. And then all of a sudden you see it and you're like, holy shit, that's a big fucking shark.
Yep.
Yes. And the way they showed it initially, it didn't come off as goofy when you saw it the first time.
No, when you finally saw it, you're like, I'm never going to the beach again.
Yeah.
Especially
I didn't want to get in pools, large puddle.
I gotta say, the music from this film really puts a chill down your spine.
Oh,
John Williams.
Yeah. Because Richard Dreyfuss. Shall I keep going?
Go ahead, man.
Oh no. Go ahead. I just said because we talked the previous week about film scores and whatnot, and it said as much as it's simple, it's also John Williams.
I was going to say Richard Dreyfuss made a joke on a British chat show years ago, and he said yes, he does go scuba diving now and again, and the chat show host turned around and said people must crap themselves if they see you go by.
What was his response?
He laughed his head off at that one.
Yeah, Jaws. I think you could kind of benchmark what made this a classic above most other horror films of its day, and that it didn't approach the spectacle above. It always approached the spectacle above water. It very rarely allowed the camera to go underwater into this monsters universe. And I parallel that with Alien.
Yes.
And the first half an hour of The Thing. Neither one of those films allowed you to see the actual monster. Yeah. So your brain, which was already hyped up because of the music, because of the dialogue and the tension, was just throwing all kinds of skeletons into that shadow. And then you get Jaws, that sequence where he devours that poor guy in the pond, where he comes up out of the depths. I mean, like literally, he just appears out of nowhere, this 25-foot, 3-ton monster, and just takes a little nibble, and the guy's gone. Disappears into the depths, is the most frightening thing I think I've ever seen on film. It's just so well executed. It's there. It's really happening. I mean, there's no way to fake that illusion of the shark going deeper into the water and just vanishing from sight.
I think that at a very, very young age, I remember seeing Jaws, and then also some other movie franchises I grew up on, one of which was Indiana Jones. And to this day, my two big nopes are sharks and snakes. I think it's probably because of some of the movies I grew up watching.
Yep.
Like if I'm out in the ocean, if I'm out in the water or something, I see a shark, like that is a colossal bag of nope. Like, nope, I'm good. I don't need to be in the ocean.
No, if I see a dolphin, I'm coming in. Are you kidding me?
I'm just
well, Jaws was also the first. Go ahead. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm going to mention one thing. I saw an article in the paper today that killer whales are taking on sharks now.
Oh, shit.
So, could you make a Jaws movie with Free Willy?
Didn't the property Orca attempt to do that?
Orca was not a good movie.
Yes.
Orca was bad on so many levels. It was terrible. Actually, Jaws. Was it Jaws 2 that started with the killer whale with the bite taken out of it?
I think so.
That they found on the beach?
Yeah.
Now that's Jaws 2, which was a sequel, and it was basically them just trying to remake Jaws, which it didn't go very well. But Jaws was also
all the sequels are so bad they've been scrubbed from my memory.
Yeah, it just makes me think.
The sequels are bad, and all the shark movies. And you have other shark movies that are okay. Like I like Deep Blue Sea. It's a sure, but most of them are just not good for a myriad of reasons. So our next movie, and this is one that we were just talking about.
Hey,
Back to the Future. So this is a movie that when you say the words out loud, it sounds goofy. It's a time travel piece about a young man who accidentally goes back in time, nearly erases himself on the timeline. He has to make sure his parents get back together. He has to fight the limitations of the time period, bullies, and deal with a half-mad scientist. When you say it out loud, it sounds ridiculous. And John, you actually like this movie. Steven and Alex, I don't know how you feel about it. And this is where I become unpopular. I didn't like the Back to the Future movies. It just wasn't my bag. I just didn't enjoy it.
This is one I always say, and I've probably said it multiple times, as a wee young lad, there are 3 movie franchises I remember watching, like some of my earliest memories: Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Back to the Future. These are the 3 movie franchises that raised me.
What's your take, Alex?
Well, with Back to the Future and that, when I first watched it, it wasn't the first film. It was like number 2 and number 3, the first ones I watched. But after watching this one, and especially with the famous catchphrases they came out with it, especially that phrase, Doc, you've made a time machine out of a DeLorean. And that has really gone down in history.
Yep.
And sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. And all I can say, this is a film that should never be remade. It has spawned countless of fans, and it is very timeless.
Yes. Which I think you already kind of touched on earlier. You said one of the creators of it said, "Over my dead body." So here you have there's director Robert Zemeckis, but then writers Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale. So basically the 2 Bobs. I read somewhere once that they actually have it in their contract that as long as one of them is still living, a remake, a sequel, a prequel, a reboot will never be made. Like between the 2 of them, they both agreed. They're like, we both will be in the grave before there's ever another movie made. So much so that even Christopher Lloyd wanted to make a 4th one. There was at one point Christopher Lloyd was pushing to say, hey, we should make a 4th one where Doc and Marty go to like ancient Rome or something like that. And they're like, nah, I think we wrapped up the story with the 3rd one. We're good. Like leave it alone. So this is definitely one franchise that, thank you, sweet baby Jesus, they're not going to fuck up until at least both of these guys die.
Well, what I can say, John, is that at the moment in London, there is a musical version of it.
I did hear about that, but
And
you know, it's
very
not a
well.
movie, so I'll give it a pass. Like,
You're making
Yes,
that
I
up.
don't.
as long as they don't, you know,
Oh my God.
turn that into a film.
it
I
won't
don't
be
take issue with
immortalized
that.
on film.
Yeah, here's the thing with this whole idea of remakes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're all raised, you know, in families, however the families are, adopted, birth, whatever, you know, this full spectrum of the rainbow, however you want to play it. We're all raised in families that we're not supposed to be turning our children into clones of each other, right? We're not supposed to be doing that. We're supposed to be fostering what makes them special so that they can produce a future that's better than the present we're living in, right? I mean, we're supposed to be passing the torch to them as a form of hope, right? Why would you remake this film other than to cripple the original property? I mean, there isn't any other logic behind it. I mean, I see this like Mr. Spock. Mr. Spock would have a heart attack just looking at what we've done to our intellectual properties. You'd be like, where's the logic? Where's the equation? You're losing money. Your audience is vacating the premises and building torches. You know, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why would you remake this film except to try and reignite a property that already was on fire? You know, what would be the point?
Yep. And funny thing, and I'm sure you guys know that. I mean, Michael J. Fox wasn't originally cast. It was supposed to be Eric Stoltz. But that chemistry didn't work on set. Once you brought in J. Fox and you had
it wasn't supposed to be Eric Stoltz. It was for a time, and they had to do reshoots.
Yeah.
Yes.
The thing is, they wanted originally Michael J. Fox, but he was too busy with his TV show at the time.
Right.
But Michael J. Fox did get like a contract written up where he could do the TV show during the day and film this at night.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. As long as the Candyman was always available in his trailer. I don't know how he survived that. I mean, you start watching the behind the scenes and you start hearing him talk about the kind of schedule he was playing. I mean, he was practically working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 2 different shows, playing 2 different characters. And it's not like his energy was down in either property.
No, not
I mean,
at all.
He was on fire in both. So
it's so iconic. Yeah.
Family Ties is legendary. You talk to the right person.
Well, and so even in Back to the Future, they said the famous scene where he's playing guitar with the band and he breaks into the like Eddie Van Halen style guitar solo and everything. Funny enough, he actually worked with a guitar teacher and learned how to play guitar and learned all of that stuff, only to still have it get overdubbed last minute by someone else. So really on screen, everything you're seeing, Michael J. Fox is really doing and is really playing. But then last minute, they're like, yeah, we know you put all this time and effort into learning these guitar parts and learning these solos, but we're still going to overdub you with somebody else.
Well, I'm going to tell you, one of my favorite films of all time, in my top 20 at least, is My Fair Lady. And nobody can tell me that Audrey Hepburn is diminished in any capacity because they ADR'd all of her songs. She doesn't sing a single song in that film, but she carries it. I mean, I remember when I did stage work and I was in like a second line in the chorus and I was doing faux tap dancing because I didn't know how to tap dance. And they said, hey, are you sure you don't know how to tap dance? It certainly looks like you do. And I'm like, well, I was told to sell it like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
And as long as you could do that.
Pretend you know what you're doing.
Right. I mean, how many punches has Tom Cruise thrown that never landed on a person, right?
Yeah.
But he knows how to punch, and he was trained by professionals on how to punch. Same thing for John Wick. You know, all those kills are special effects, but that doesn't mean he isn't selling the reality of it.
Right.
Yeah, hopefully this will remain bulletproof, this movie.
Like I said, as long as the two Bobs are alive, because they said it's in both of their contracts. So, like, let's say if, God forbid, I don't wish this upon anyone, but let's say like if Robert Zemeckis were to drop dead tomorrow, as long as Bob Gale is still alive, the other writer, he said it's like it still won't happen. It's in both of their contracts that they both have to be dead before anyone can do anything with this franchise again.
I'm just going to mention one thing. I hope.
So the next one, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope this gets passed to the estates of Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis in the future.
Yes.
And they still put a stamp on it saying never to be remade.
Yeah, they could do that. They could pass it on in their will and say, let's just keep it going. I mean, George Harrison managed to keep the film Let It Be under wraps for a long time. They did that new thing, like the Get Back, whatever, something. But really, like the original film Let It Be, when they actually filmed that and it was all the negative stuff, George Harrison's estate was still like, nope, that won't come out again.
All right,
ahead, Roman.
Moving
What's
on
next?
to a movie that we need to spend almost no time on. And I don't know why Collider put this on their list, but it's Collider. Who knows why they do what they do. And we don't need to spend a lot of time on it. So it's Satan Tango. I'm not sure the pronunciation. It's 1994. The movie is 7.5 hours long. That alone should be enough to prevent a remake. But that's not why it shouldn't be remade. It just shouldn't be remade.
That alone prevents anyone from watching it.
Well, exactly. The director's intent with this movie was for the audience to feel the despair and boredom of the characters. What the fuck?
Wait, are we talking about Marvel Studios again?
We're back to Marvel Phase 5.
But
good grief.
We got another one.
The sex spots back.
We got them.
Sex spots. Oh, there's more. There's like 17 sex spots in there.
We got them.
And I don't really want to talk about this one very long. It was just on Collider's list, and I don't know why they bothered with a movie that is just so obscure that remaking it is just freaking absurd. So we can just...
I think somebody was paying them to add this one to the article.
I guess so. So now I need to go watch it. No, you don't. Okay, so Shawshank Redemption. 1994, film about a wrongfully committed man, spends years in prison. It's his friendships, his toils, and the casting on this, Morgan Freeman and Tim Robbins, who I don't like in nearly anything else, I loved in this. And it's...
You don't like Morgan Freeman?
Their relationship... I love Morgan Freeman. Everybody loves Morgan Freeman. Tim Robbins is kind of a douche.
He's a little bit of a weirdo.
And it's not my fault. I didn't make him a douche, but there it is. But in this movie, he's good, and I accept that. So you don't get these guys together again. And even the supporting cast in this were so good. Clancy Brown is the prison guard. The warden himself. The weird dude who was one of the sisters who had an attraction for the Tim Robbins character. It was just all so well done. The pieces of this movie, the layers of it, and just the entire journey. Could you make this movie again? Sure. You can throw two other guys into jail for 25 years and see what you get, but you're not going to get this.
Yeah, this movie was never about the prison system. That's this is something that Hollywood is continuously forgetting about, is that when this property is not about the prison. It's about hope. It's about these really grounded themes. And I agree with you. Tim, he's on and off. You look at his filmography, and it's like, come on, man, really? What the hell is this thing? But
his weird character in the Tenacious D movie.
Well, he was also in the War of the Worlds remake.
Yeah.
which we won't really. I don't think we need to discuss.
Wait,
but he played a weird guy in that too.
Oh, I don't remember him being in that, but okay.
Tom Cruise killed him with a shovel.
Okay, got it.
I'm gonna throw one film into the ring. He was in. I don't know if it's blasphemy or not. Howard the Duck.
Oh
really?
boy,
I don't
Howard
remember very much about Howard the Duck.
Yeah, he was in that.
Good Lord, that's been a long time since I've watched that one.
So, Alex, what are your thoughts on Shawshank?
I'm not particularly a fan of Shawshank Redemption. I'm afraid.
Really?
No, but I do list it as another prison movie that I do like. It's called Cool Hand Luke. So I'd still rank it up with Cool Hand Luke. That's what I can say.
And mercifully, they've left that alone, as far as I know.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Papillon as well.
They didn't. They did a remake of Papillon.
Did they?
They did. I don't know who's in it. I don't know who saw it. Here, give me 1 second here, and I can look at it real fast though, provided I can spell it right, and I probably won't. Oh, there it is. Look at that. No, that's a dog. It's giving me a picture of a small toy spaniel. That's not what I wanted to see, Internet. For the love of God, it's all against me.
Shawshank came out at an interesting time that they were able to greenlight the Green Mile within a few years of the other. And the Green Mile came off as an absolute classic. That movie should never, ever be remade. There's no reason whatsoever to remake that movie. It's perfect.
Yes.
If you're a fan or not is irrelevant. Every audience I've seen watching that movie has just come away with either tears or gaping surprise at how good the movie is. I mean, the first time John Coffey uses his ability, everybody is just blown away. The visual effects are right on point. It all works mechanically on screen, well executed. So Shawshank becomes the grounded brother of Green Mile because they're both King
an excellent
properties.
way to put that, dude. Yeah, also true.
They're both King properties.
His non-horror. I'm sorry, Gary. Yes, I pulled a Gary.
Wait, you're what?
There had to be a better way to say that.
What are you?
You yanked Gary?
No, God damn it. So anyway,
shut up. You stroking the upper authorities?
See, if you didn't hear that though, Roman was sorry about that.
I have a certain way I pronounce certain words. Anyway, jackass. Papillon was a 2017 remake of all things. And it's got the dude from the biker show.
Sons of Anarchy?
Yes. Charlie Hunnam?
Charlie Hutton? Something like
however,
that?
It's Hunnam. The dude with the beard, the blonde guy.
He's that guy that all the ladies love.
They made it
and
sexy.
A bunch of people.
They shouldn't have made it. Why would they make that movie sexy? I don't understand.
You didn't know that they even remade it. I barely remembered that they remade it.
Well, I'm assuming they turned it into some sort of guy fest where all of the prisoners were all very attractive, capable men and stuff like that. I don't know. That's just I don't get it.
Yeah, they should have left it alone. Okay, so Shawshank. Now, next one is something that I think is Seth MacFarlane takes a lot of these movies and pulls jokes out of them. God damn it, son of a bitch!
Save that clip. You just pulled up Brokeback Mountain, didn't you?
I did.
I knew that was your favorite movie.
They shouldn't remake that movie. It can always be like this. Citizen Kane.
That one there.
I have to tell you, I I didn't like Citizen Kane. I know
Yeah.
it is this great masterpiece of a movie. I personally wouldn't care if they remade Citizen Kane because I didn't care enough about the original version of Citizen Kane. It's it's a movie of the downfall of Charles Foster Kane, and it's weird. And I just personally don't give two shits about it. Sorry, Collider, this isn't my list. That's why it's on here. Like I said, this is Collider's list, and I wanted to take it because it is interesting to get other people's perspectives on what the hell. To listen to you to begin with. What's this about? What? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I saw Rosie's line. I didn't see John's line above it. Anyway, do you guys have any feelings about Citizen Kane? Or is it past? Alex?
Not particularly, no, I'm afraid.
Yeah. What do you think, Bulkar?
I mean, this is where my unpopular opinions come in that I haven't seen Shawshank or this movie, so I don't have a dog in the fight on these two.
Okay.
All I can say is it's got that famous line about Rosebud. That's all I can say.
Rosebud.
Right.
Rosebud. And it's a fucking sled. It's a
I
fucking
will say,
sled. What does it mean? Nobody knows.
On the how to make Citizen Kane today, I think that the best way to do it would literally be, because we have so much raw footage of politicians as they come up through the ranks. We have all of this actual real history of real events that occurred. You could almost clip together the entire course of a person's life and just edit it to the beats of Citizen Kane. True. I mean, take any political official, any superstar, any rock star, you could almost do a whole series of Citizen Kane, and it would be literally a series. Like every week would be a separate mini series about another politician who goes down that road. And some succeed, some don't. Almost like a Groundhog's Day meets Twilight Zone re-editing of these political careers. I mean, I was thinking the obvious choice would be either Biden or Trump. If you were to shoehorn them into this beat structure, that's easily a 2.5-hour movie. You even have, and you don't film anything. You only use the raw footage from news cycles.
Yeah.
And that's actually, as a concept to me, far more interesting than actual Citizen Kane.
Right, yeah. Well, Citizen Kane was supposed to be talking about Hess.
Right.
An actual real person. But at the time, the Hess family was still far too powerful for them to make a movie against them. So, how Oliver Stone got away with W, I'll never know. He's got to be in cahoots. I'm sorry. Calling it.
But it also
Oliver Stone is a spook.
Well, you're probably not. I have changed my opinion on Oliver Stone a lot over the years, because my opinion on politics has changed considerably. Where I realize that no one actually gives a shit. That's just my opinion. It doesn't represent that of John and Roman solve the world's problems or any other organization. Please don't come for me, federal agents. I'm talking to you, Gordon. So let's move past Citizen Kane and jump into something we actually like.
A Christmas movie.
It is a movie for all seasons. It is on my Christmas movie list. Mrs. of the Empire does not agree. So this movie...
Well, that's okay. She can be wrong.
Don't ever say that. She's in earshot, man. So this movie was good for a lot of different reasons, but not the least of which, and why I think it could never be done again, despite their best efforts through Die Hard 2 through 27.
Lots of bad sequels.
One, it was Alan Rickman's first movie. He had done stage production before that. He had never done a film before.
Wow. And
two, Bruce Willis was a bizarre casting choice at the time for this movie. Yeah. He was on a television series as a wise comedy guy. Yeah. It was like a comedy drama type show. And that's what people knew him as. So to cast him as the role of an action guy was out of, because he was, and why did it work so well? Because he was an everyman. This is a role you would have thrown a Schwarzenegger or a Stallone into, and they're not an everyman. But Bruce Willis, absolutely.
He still did have some. There was still kind of some humor interjected in there. So it's like, yes, he was like the tough, badass cop and everything, but he was still kind of snarky and funny. So I think that's why it worked so well for him.
He could deliver well. That if it had come from an action hero,
like a Schwarzenegger wouldn't have
stupid. No, it
yeah,
wouldn't have
exactly.
Worked. It wouldn't 100%. Have worked. Alex, thoughts on Die Hard?
Right. A bit of a trivia here. With Die Hard, it was actually based on a novel called Nothing Lasts Forever.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it was related to a film called The Detective.
Yep. Yeah, part of the Frank Sinatra spy series.
Yep.
Yes.
Now, they tried to get Frank Sinatra to do this film, but no.
Yeah, that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
God. Yeah, Moonlight.
Interestingly enough, though, that points directly at this lounge lizard comedian that we know as Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis was a Vegas comedian. He had that New York vibe, and you could easily see how a casting director said, well, if we can't get Frank Sinatra, here's the young 6 foot tall this guy. And you could see the translation very clearly. But nobody knows that back history. I've laid that back history on some people, and they're just like, no, get out of here. Frank Sinatra, what are you talking about? And like the original novel was supposed to be an older Frank Sinatra spy guy.
Yep.
Welcome to the party, pal.
That would have been interesting.
Welcome to the party, pal. Doesn't work so well.
I don't think Frank Sinatra would get on with the vents either.
No.
I think
whoever put me in this goddamn vent's gonna pay. I'm gonna make you pay for the rest of your goddamn life.
Come to the coast. We'll get together. Have a few drinks. Have it to the last.
I will say though,
there was just go.
Go ahead, Roman.
I was just gonna say there was just such extensive rewriting of this. I've seen a lot of the background of this movie, and they did so much rewriting to make it all work. Taking the events out of that book, putting them in context in this story to make them work with this guy.
And I'm going to say, it's not every day you get a chance to make an explosion at the top of the 20th Century Fox building.
Right?
True.
During that time.
True.
Yeah.
Or got one shot at this, guys.
Yeah.
Run a riot truck up on those front stoop. I mean, I heard that the director got in a boatload of trouble because they destroyed this new front landing of the building, and they didn't have permission to do that. It was supposed to go between the rails and stuff, but and that kind of repair on concrete is impossible to do. So yeah, I'll bet you go there today and you could still see where that happened.
Worth it.
Totally worth it.
And you've seen, we talk about it being bulletproof, and it is, because you see the movies that try to be Die Hard, and they've tried many times. Let's do Die Hard on a train, Die Hard on a boat, Die Hard on a plane, and none of them work for a myriad of different reasons. But the imitation doesn't work. I mean, the Die Hard sequels didn't work. I think the only Die Hard sequel that worked, and again, these are sequels, we're not talking about them as a remake, was the third one with Samuel L. Jackson, because that one was so very different. They didn't try to squeeze in that same scenario.
And it had callbacks to the first one with the brother.
Yes, the brother.
Yep.
And Jeremy Irons was so good in that as well. He was freaking brilliant. Because Jeremy Irons is always brilliant. He's one of those actors that he could just be reading the dictionary, and it's still going to be more interesting than most people's acting.
Can anybody
out there? Oh, but it's Scar.
Yeah, can I add Alex to this? To me, in my respect, there's only just going to be 3 Die Hard movies, because I don't count the other 2.
Right.
No. No.
It's just like how there's only 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Yes, one Matrix movie.
I'm going to throw a glove down on the table that the one about the internet, now that we have lived through similar events in reality, where the fakeness of news, not believing what's on your screen, that moment where they run down to the Capitol building to see that it really isn't blown up. There's something to that, and that whole internet thing, although it was mishandled in the film, I still enjoy it looking backwards on it. It even reveals that Kevin Smith is probably going to puss out unless your daughter is kidnapped. So, I mean, there's some poignant post-hoc history to the fourth film that I think is worthy to at least consider for diehardship. And the second movie was just them trying to do it.
Oh, Die Hard 2?
Die Hard 2 was they were finding their feet, and then they found it.
It was Die Hard in an airport, which is all it was. And then the third one was just so very different, and I really enjoyed that film.
But the second one was still a Christmas movie, though.
Yes, it was. There was snow on the ground.
And it was Christmas time.
All right, on to our next film, The Godfather, 1972. The quintessential mafia film. And there have been other good mafia films. There have been a lot of really shitty mafia films. But The Godfather was the first one that really brought you into the family and the dynamics that worked within the family. And again, you have the cast of Marlon Brando at his peak. This isn't, weird, fat, bloated Brando. This is Brando doing well. Al Pacino, before he became Al Pacino that talked like this, and then James Caan. But before that guy. And the elements that this movie brought together were just so good, and it was so well told. Again, and it was also really the first movie like this. Like I said, there had been previous movies about the mob, but they were almost cartoonish by comparison. This was a realistic look at the way things operated. What do you guys got?
This is another one where I'm unfortunately going to have to be the unpopular guy in the room and say that I have not seen it.
It's
John,
things like
I'm
this.
afraid I'm with you there.
Oh, really? Alex, you haven't seen it yet?
No.
Oh, my God.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm a disappointment.
Well, for Roman and I, given our names...
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. The Godfather.
I grew up in a Sicilian family, so this was part of required watching. Along with the Robe and some other Christian films like the King of Kings. I mean, this was just required viewing in my household. This and Planet of the Apes and Executive Action and a handful of other films. But my father worshipped this movie. He just worshipped this movie. And for the Italian people who were still in a bit of a pickle in America when this film came out, because they were still considered to be part of the bad guy group at the time. I mean, my father had all kinds of issues, keeping a job, having a job, getting a job, living in certain neighborhoods. They were concerned because his last name was Sicilian, because it was in the press all the time. They were a violent group of people, and they did what they had to do what they needed to do. And this film only brought all that back up to the forefront. I have issues with it socially because it doesn't speak well of my people. I mean, it speaks well of my people, but it doesn't speak well of my people at the same time. So it's weird. This is acceptable. This is considered art, but it's basically Italian on Italian crime.
Yeah, it doesn't reinforce stereotypes. Yeah, a little bit. Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes. There are, yes, and it's almost, for me, it's almost hard to separate this and Godfather 2.
Right.
Because they are one is just a continuation of the next. But as a work of art, and again, as I had mentioned, the casting and the direction and the writing, you don't get to do again. Godfather 3, which I am not a fan of personally. I think Mario Puzo was a schmuck for writing that. I don't know why he did that. He got greedy or he lost talent. There was no reason for Godfather 3 to exist. You would spun your tail and you had done it well, and then you threw the turd in the punch bowl. And you didn't sully the whole thing because people largely just acknowledged 1 and 2. And they've done recuts to 3 to try to make it better. But in the end, it's still Godfather 3. Forgive my voice. I have been ill and I'm starting to lose it while we're talking.
So I think that's pretty much that with that one.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. There's
2 members of the panel haven't even seen it.
And 2 members have lived it.
Right? Good grief.
All right. So
now this one,
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. John, have you seen this one?
How about you, Alex? John? You're on mic.
I have.
John left.
I've seen The Sting, which they did also.
Right.
And talking about The Sting, I love to rewatch over and over again. But I'll bring it up another time. But with this, it is another epic. Especially the chemistry they had and also the ending.
Yes, those 2 are so good together.
Yeah. I would say that that's what makes this property more bulletproof than the actual story itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Because this is not a biography. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you could never recapture this chemistry without it becoming either a lampoon or a caricature of these characters.
It's a fictionalized account of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
It's seen through the lens of the 1960s, early 70s, too, because all of those little side
romanticized version of it.
Sure. They even had a 1960s top 40 song on the soundtrack.
Yep, raindrops keep dancing on my head.
Yep. And then they fall.
Did I just walk into us talking about Brokeback Mountain? What happened here?
God,
sort of.
Damn it.
But there's no confirmation about Paul and Robert, so
I'm sorry, Alex. I can't account for my co-host. Son of a bitch!
I wish I could quit you.
The ending of Brokeback Mountain in the end had the Bolivian army in it, and then no, these 2 acting off each other, and especially going into the Sting, it's like 2 titans of Hollywood come together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and you don't expect that chemistry, and it's just going to be a timeless classic. That's all I can say.
No, agreed.
Yeah.
There's
of them.
A lot. Yeah, and this is entirely. You have to give the director some credit because it's without a good director, you still can have a great cast, and the movie still turns into a giant poop. So, director.
That's
credit,
why George Martin is the 5th Beatle, because without George in the booth, they really wouldn't have been the second half of the Beatles' career. It just wouldn't have existed.
100%.
So yes, I agree with you on that one. You could say that about a lot of these things. They're actually
calling me now. God damn it!
Save that.
Right, my technology is cooperating now and leaving me out. So then, this.
Yes!
Blazing Saddles.
Oh, can I just say one thing about this film? If you took out all the jokes and all the scenes that were in it, you'll probably just get a 5-minute movie.
Yes. Oh, if you took out everything that was offensive in this movie, it would not exist. Yeah. And I mean, that's why it's so amazing that people can watch it and just say they're just jokes. And people don't even realize the fact that like a main part of the story is the fact that the black sheriff is like outsmarting all of the dumb white people. So they just look at, oh, well, they're using the N-word and they're using offensive language and they're making offensive jokes. It's like, yes, but it's because the new black sheriff is smarter and more clever than all the dumb townsfolk.
Especially that scene where he takes himself hostage just to get away. And comes out
baby,
with a line.
You are so smart.
and they are so dumb.
Yeah. He means it. Put your guns down.
There should only be one update to that joke where he steps in there and goes, "Oh man, you are so smart, and they is so woke." Because as soon as he threatens himself, that's it. They pulled all the stops out. They stopped everything. Don't shoot this guy. Don't even threaten his life. He could actually wind up dead. It's so funny. It's the movie is so ironic.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially the scenes with Madeline Kahn in it, where she's about to go. You know, they're about to get together. I can't really say it, but she goes, "Tell me, are you gifted?" And then you hear, "Oh, it's true, it's true, it's true." But there's a line, but they cut a line out of that sequence where he goes, "Man, you're sucking on my arm or elbow." I can't believe it.
Man. So
I'm going to say Gene Wilder also stole the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two reasons this movie can't be remade. One is the content, because you can't do that in the woke society.
Can't do that anymore.
God damn, sex bots are back.
He said the new sheriff is near.
And I just want to add one thing. What do you expect when you get towards the ending of the film and they're just having a punch up on the Warner Brother lot and they all just come running out into the street?
It was you know what, Alex, you know what, it was a bit of a non-ending, much like the movie that you had me watch, the original version of The Italian Job, in which the ending of the movie is literally the cliffhanger. I didn't expect that. So, but the other reason why this movie couldn't get made, aside from the content, is the casting. Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder, you don't just throw a couple guys together and have that work. Gene Wilder was a comedic genius. Anyway.
# rest in peace.
Absolutely. But he and Cleavon Little just worked so well together, and the rest of the cast as well. I mean, these were all titans of comedy of their age, and they were hilarious together. And the material, without the material, this movie is what? It doesn't even exist. It's a dysfunctional Western about a black sheriff in a racist town. Oh, that's funny. Ha ha. Oh, that sounds like a movie they would make today.
I just want to also add a point, is that Cleavon Little wasn't originally up for the role of Sheriff Bart. It was Richard Pryor.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Unfortunately, due to unfortunate circumstances, Richard Pryor couldn't make it to the set.
Good Lord.
He is credited as
very different
a writer. He was a part of the writing team.
Right. Yep. They thought he was too much of a risk, and now that we know a few years afterwards what went down, it was pretty logical for them to say that he was a risk.
Yeah. And I've got to say, it gives a new meaning of, instead of riding off into the sunset, you're driving off into the sunsets.
Yeah.
It is always interesting to find out some of these iconic movie roles and like who kind of maybe their first choice was and who they went with. Like we could probably make a whole other live stream out of that.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like say like Indiana Jones and like who they wanted before Harrison Ford and then how they landed with him. Like it's always kind of interesting to look at who they wanted, who they ended up with. But now it's like you can't separate the character from the actor.
Well, I think you could take a present day, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Peter Jackson trilogy. They didn't have Vigo.
Oh.
They didn't get Vigo until the last second. They didn't get Smeagol until the last second. It was it was a big question mark as to how they were going to pull this off. Vigo was casted, but he was a much younger fellow that wasn't mixing well with the cast. And then you watch the behind scenes footage with Lord of the Rings, and you discover that Vigo became an icon. He became an anchor for the acting chops of the whole cast. They referred to him as a classic black and white, almost silent screen level action hero. I mean, this guy would camp, he would fish, he would horse, he would sword swing.
Yeah.
The first fight sequence in the movie was him on the first day of the set. It's crazy to even think about. So magic happens with those recasting moments. And there's so much pre-thought with all of these properties nowadays that you could never get that magic to happen. You could never get fate and destiny to intervene.
I just want to mention one more thing about Blazing Saddles. It's the only Mel Brooks film I know, or probably next to Spaceballs, that hasn't been adapted into a stage musical yet.
Has it though?
No, it's never going to be touched. It's never going to be touched.
Never's a long time. Never's a long time. I think we're experiencing something, you know, because basically the subject of this is that these IPs are not being treated fairly.
Yeah,
they're being caught up. Somebody is skinning them in a back alley and then wrapping that skin around new people that they approve of. I mean, that's really, as monstrous as that description sounds, that's what we really are experiencing here.
Yeah.
Nobody earns their role. They inherited it. And we've been talking about inheritance as a bad idea for a very, very long time now. We don't see the silver spoon as an inheritance. We don't think that that's a qualifier for a good person. You know, everybody that's been excellent or has surpassed. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I said, let me run down just a real brief listing of terrible remakes. Things that got remade that never should have been touched. Ghostbusters 2016. The Magnificent Seven, also 2016. And let me run down that cast listing. That's Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, Ethan Hawke, Vincent D'Onofrio. That goes to show you that a great cast does not a great movie make. But it didn't work. No one gave a fuck.
That's a solid cast, but the movie.
The Mummy, the Tom Cruise remake in 2016.
Oh, Lord.
You have Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe in a movie. You just hear those names and don't show me the title of the movie. I'm going to say, yeah, that sounds great. But then you get
Russell Crowe can be kind of iffy.
Total Recall.
Oh.
Total Recall. What did they? Why did they do
no one
that?
saw.
Oh, I saw it.
Point Break. I never saw it. I never saw that. I never saw Point Break, and I never saw Red Dawn, which they also.
I don't think I've seen any of these remakes, so I feel like I've really spared myself some misery.
But some idiot decided to make them. Is the point? Why? Why do these movies exist in any friggin' form?
Just shouldn't, because Chris Hemsworth.
Because Chris Hemsworth. So I have just a couple of movies. I don't know how much longer you guys want to go because we're actually in an hour and a half of our hour program. So if you want to stick around, cool. If you want to shut her down, that's okay too. I don't know what your night looks like. I have a little bit longer. If I'm
live on YouTube, man. I'm not going anywhere.
So I'm going to throw one out, and then I'd like each of you to take turn in a different one. We can talk about the ones that we bring up, but or go just around the bout. Casablanca. I don't think they should ever touch Casablanca.
Alex?
Solid green.
Yeah, I don't think it could be remade.
No.
You would need a historical moment equivalent to it to even bring it into the present day.
Oh, yes.
And that would contaminate the property in the first place. The original screenplay was panned
Right.
for the longest time, and somebody reintroduced that screenplay. They just changed all the names and the locations, and the lore goes that it was a completely panned script. Nobody wanted it. Nobody, and this was like recently, like in the last 20 years, somebody tried to redo the script as an experiment, and they passed it around all these producers, and nobody wanted it because they said it was boring. They said that it was old time. It was old fashioned. So yeah, magic happens. Casablanca. No, Bulletproof, I think.
All right, Alex,
And
what do you
Blue
got
Collar
for a
hasn't seen
movie
it.
that
Yeah,
should get remade?
I said solid green.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is one of those classic Charlton Heston films. They've remade a few other Charlton Heston movies, but that you can't go wrong with it, especially the ending. And how would it ever? How
Delivery in that movie?
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, how would
and
that
the look of
be?
it and the feel of it for the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
John, have you ever seen that one?
I have not.
Oh, that's a watcher for you, man. That's
Damn
I
it.
don't recommend.
We need to make a list.
But if you enjoy Soylent Green and Omega Man, I think might be right up your alley, my friend. They're both about a dude trapped in a mad world, and all he has is his brains and an arsenal of weaponry. So,
all right, I like it.
I had thought originally that
John, what do you got? Oh, go ahead.
That Planet of the Apes was bulletproof until I saw the remakes, and it's odd. They really, really did an excellent job with those. I know that they didn't get well received across the board, but they were certainly well executed. There wasn't really, not until the third and fourth ones or whatever, but the first and second ones were solid pieces of cinema. I mean, just the visual technology alone was enough to capture my mind. But so, it never is an interesting thing. Tides can turn.
Pardon me. Sorry. John, what do you got for a movie?
Well, I'm gonna go maybe a little bit more deep dive here, but only because I've heard rumors of them trying to remake this movie, and thank God I think it finally died. But a very early Christopher Nolan movie called Memento, which if you have not seen or have not heard of, it's a movie in which the character played by Guy Ritchie. His wife has been murdered. He has no long-term memory anymore. So the entire movie actually plays backwards, where they show you a scene, you see what happens, and then it goes backwards and it plays what happened before that scene. It was Christopher Nolan before he did Batman or did anything like that. And it was an incredibly low-budget film of his, but there's been talks and been rumors of them trying to remake it and like do a newer version of it. But just the sheer writing and storytelling of the movie, because there's virtually no special effects, there's no budget, it's just a camera and some actors and a script, and the story is so brilliant that I think if they tried to remake it now, they would just fill it with needless CGI and action, which, I mean, there is some action in it anyways, but I guess I'm gonna kind of be the artsy fartsy one here and kind of have the weird deep dive movie that Memento is one that I think is completely bulletproof. It should never be touched.
I had not seen Memento, but Nolan is a solid director. But this is also from the man who gives us bands you've never heard of.
Hi, how are you? I highly recommend that movie for everyone. I saw that movie back when it was maybe not like brand new, but before Batman Begins came out, and nobody knew who Christopher Nolan was. But some friends of mine were like, "Oh, here, we're watching this movie," and I went, "Oh, okay, whatever. Let's see what it is." And I was completely fascinated and blown away. And to this day, it's probably one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I think you could put Memento. I have seen it several times actually, and I think you could put it in a box set right alongside Interstellar and Inception, because they are both the headier side of Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan wants to be Kubrick. He wishes he could be Kubrick. He wants to be him so bad. He creates these multi-dimensional plot lines where the camera is going to places like the way James Cameron dropped the camera into water. Christopher Nolan goes into dimensions.
Yeah.
You could say the same thing about his other film, which could also be put in that box set, and that is The Prestige.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Very clever.
Yeah, it was.
Nolan is a man who takes his movie making very seriously.
Yes,
he does. Yeah. He only works one movie at a time, and he still very much believes in practical effects. If he can at all possibly build something or physically do something, he will 100% do that before he resorts to CGI. He really, really still cares about the quality of filmmaking, and he's not just trying to churn out the next blockbuster.
Yeah, it still blows my mind. Go ahead, Alex.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the film he did called The Inception.
Yeah. That's a fun film.
Now that ending gets me every freaking time.
Because they leave it up to the viewer. You get to decide, what do you think happened?
They do.
Right.
Yeah.
Rewatch the movie.
Okay, I'm just going to show you something for a minute. I'm smoking. I don't really want to show myself smoking. However, where they say about totems, right? I found this one day at work, and I keep it on my stand. And if it ever falls down, I think I'm in a dream.
Yeah.
That film really got to me. That's all I can say. And I'm always keeping this on my shelf. And it ever falls down, I'm going, oh, great. So that's what it is.
So we need to keep an eye on Alex just in case. We maybe all be part of his dream. And if you're dreaming about us, Alex, I don't know what that means.
I'm sorry.
All right, and let's close this out with Stephen Ransom's Bulletproof movie, and then we'll do our exit credits and move on.
Okay, I think a solid Bulletproof movie is something that creeped me out just as much as Inception did, and that was The Sixth Sense. And for the same reason, that movie really portrays the identity of being a ghost as being something that you cannot puzzle yourself out of easily. You could be completely in the dark that you're not alive anymore, and that really tripped me out. Talk about an earworm.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as bulletproofness, I don't see any reason why that could ever. Just the child actor alone would be impossible to execute again.
Yeah.
I mean, can I just say something, Stephen? I think that is top of the bill with a film called The Others, which I think was very similar.
Okay.
Because
I haven't seen that. Is that with Nicole Kidman or something like that?
Yeah, apparently the family were all ghosts.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy movies like that. Anything that gets my brain really churning away is top notch for me.
Yeah, where you get the rug pulled out from under you by the movie and you're like, what? All of this was this? And you get everything you've seen for the last 90 minutes to 2 hours. You look at it after you leave the theater from an entirely different perspective.
Yeah, and not just the simplicity of the rug being pulled out. It's also this idea of a movie that has enough nuts and bolts in it, like 12 Monkeys, like 2001. For me, if you can't rewatch a movie, then you don't have a movie. I'm sorry. A movie must be able to be rewatched. It can't be just a one and done. It's got to have enough nuts and bolts in it where you can watch it years later and be like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that character said that. Oh my, there's the prop right there in the background. It's like, oh, now I see the linchpin. Now that I've been through a relationship, been through a job loss, been through a whatever, been through a political upheaval, I understand this movie more profoundly than I did when I was younger. Yeah. And movies need to have that kind of meat on their bones. Otherwise, it's like, it's just spectacle with costumes and that's it. I mean, that's what we're really talking about here is that, keep your hands off my classics. We have a handful that appear to be completely bulletproof, that you can't redo them. But there are a ton of them out there that are vulnerable. And, I hope that copyright regulation evolves where we no longer have to worry. Like if a film winds up in a certain financial bracket, on a certain film archive, or on a certain national list of celebrated properties, then it should be protected like a historical foundation. I mean, nobody would try to remake the Washington Monument. Nobody would try to remake Mount Rushmore. Nobody would try to remake, but as soon as they mention it, the majority of the people are like, no, you can't do that. That's a national monument. I don't care what the deal is. I don't care what their politics were back then. You're not allowed to touch that. I'm sorry. We need to learn from that. It needs to exist. It'd be like rewriting one of Churchill's speeches just because he used foul language once or twice or something like that. It's a travesty. It's like you're destroying history. History is supposed to be a reflective body of information. We're not supposed to be diminishing it. We're supposed to be respecting it because they did it before we came around. Yeah, that's me being based as hell.
That is an excellent quote, Stephen. That was perfect. That was a great way to end this. Thank you for doing that. That was superb.
Thank you, sir.
Let's go around the horn real fast and say our goodbyes and plug whatever we need to. Let me start with my partner in the corner here, John, the blue collar guy. That'd be you, asshole.
Yes, you can find me on YouTube as the Creative Blue Collar Guy. I think my Instagram is creative_blue_collar, and Twitter is creative_BC_guy, something like that. I don't know. Either way, I'm here with this guy once a week, and I'm sorry for that.
Nice.
Thanks. Thank you. All right, Mr. AWK. What for us, Alex?
Right, my name is Mr. AWK. I'm co-owner and also live stream provider of the channel FFSI, if I can pronounce it properly. You can find us on YouTube and also on Twitter. The link is on the YouTube channel itself. And can I announce 2 shows coming up?
Go for it. He's frozen.
All right. And
yeah. We've got a show coming up on August 16th.
Go.
Yeah, August 16th. We've got a show looking back at all mankind. And on September the 13th, we're doing a Jerry Anderson special again, discussing about the TV show Space 1999, episode Breakaway, the first ever episode.
Very cool.
Nice.
All right, Stephen, down to you.
And I'm going to just give my quick usual. I'm a Twitter cheerleader. I'm a YouTube cheerleader. I've been talking up some people that I find on YouTube that I find interesting or too good to have so few subscribers. So I promote them as much as I can here and there whenever they put up a new video. I do things like I do with Roman over here. I did that classic art piece for Roman of his Centurion helmet on a piece of classic Roman painting. Because we're becoming these things, you know, we're slowly but surely, some of these YouTube stars are becoming quite classic in their own way. So that's what I am. I'm a big 55-year-old cheerleader for a lot of these new channels. So check my Twitter at the same name, Stefan Ransom. It's also Bleffin Ransom, but and my YouTube channel is there, doing pretty much nothing. And that's it. I offer my opinions.
Well, I'm grateful you're out there. All right. So thank you to Mr. AWK and Stephen Ransom for hanging on with us this week and bearing with me through my technical hell. And always thanks to my co-host, John, the creative blue collar guy. If you're here, you know where I am. And days of the week. Tomorrow I'll be with Father Miller at noon for the Nerd Father, and then Saturday at noon Standard I'll be with Alex and PJ maybe doing
Let's Talk Geeky.
Talk Geeky. We Talk Geeky. Hell, I've lost the damn thing because my brain's not working anymore. Let's Talk Geeky. And we just talk about a whole bunch of nerd stuff for a few hours. It's a lot of fun. So for everybody that viewed this week and joined the chat and even just hung out with us for these couple hours, we greatly appreciate it. Please check out channels of everybody here, and please like and subscribe because that always helps. So for now, this is John and Roman solve the world's problems. That's a lie. Signing off. Be kind.
And we're out.
It's still not done. It just won't do what I want it to do. One goddamn time. Is it so freaking hard?